You want to hear something insane? I've helped over 5,000 video editors make more money, and out of the most successful of them, they were all doing these 21 things. So here I am giving those 21 lessons to you, starting with the first one. Stop trying to stand out, just focus on being good instead. When I was first starting, I would hear everyone around me telling me that I had to pick up my own style. They told me that otherwise I wouldn't stand out. But here's the thing, I tried that, and lo and behold, my work didn't look good. Because what happens when you have this goal of standing out is that you just end up doing stupid things that don't follow the principles of what makes a good edit. So what should you do instead of trying to stand out? Well, identify what are the things that make an edit look good. And the best way to do that is just look at edits that you like and copy them. Because when you focus on being a good editor, which has been done before, you actually just end up standing out because everyone else isn't following the principles that make a good edit. But where do you actually find that work to copy? Well, that comes on to the second lesson, which is document your inspiration. A lot of people say that they want to be more creative, but the problem with complaining that you're not creative is it has this fundamental belief that creativity is not a skill, but it is a trait. And that isn't true, because creativity isn't something you're born with or you're not born with. It's something that you can develop as you continue growing. So how do you actually document your inspiration? Well, that's where you want to just have a document where, for me, I call it an inspiration bank. It's just a page on Notion where every time I go out in the world, I go out on Twitter and I see work that I like, I screenshot it and just put it in that document. But even if you get your work looking amazing, you're still going to struggle if you can't get clients. So that's where this third lesson comes in. Learn social skills. I used to be an extremely quiet person when I was younger. I would be the kid at the family function where I'd be sitting at the corner of the room while everyone else is playing, and I'd be playing Clash of Clans on my mom's phone. I didn't know how to speak to people, and now I am not exactly some social demon, but I can get my way around when it comes to a social event. And the reason I'm like that is because I found out about this book. Now, this book, I got recommended it by another YouTuber, and the name of that book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book is everything, the principles of how do you become a person that people like. And in all honesty, I learned it because I wanted to have more friends. But in a weird way, I found this actually helped me get more clients. But of course, I'm not expecting you to read that entire book in the next 5 minutes. So what is the key principle that I've taken away from that? Well, it's what tip number 4 is, which is frame everything in the client's interest. I remember when I was starting out as an editor, I was about in college and I had school as well as gym, as well as editing. Now, naturally, there are going to be days where I am more busy than others, meaning I couldn't get the work done. So when I had a video that was overdue, what do you think I told my client? Hey man, sorry, I was actually just super busy recently. I had the gym and I also had this exam coming up, so I couldn't get your video done. Here's the thing, why is that wrong? People don't give a shit why you're late. All they know is that you're late. And in the same way, people don't care that, oh, I don't have a portfolio because I'm still new to editing. Do you think they're gonna hire you out of pity? No. So what you wanna do instead when you have a disadvantage in a situation is you wanna see how can you slightly change it, not lying, but frame it in a way where it actually seems like a good thing. For example, let's say that life came up and I have a deadline that I've gone over. Instead of going to them and complaining about my personal life, which they don't give a shit about, I'm going to frame it in a way where it says that it's actually in your interest that I'm making it better. So I would say something along the lines of, hey, I'm just letting you know the video's coming along well. I haven't got the video done because I'm at this stage of the work right now and I'm just touching up on these parts. I don't want to give a video in that isn't my best. Now that 4th tip was a powerful tip I just gave you, and by you watching this, I'm assuming you're not going to take advantage of it. But how do you make sure that this line actually lands well rather than you looking like you're just lying and making excuses? Well, that's where tip number 5 comes in, which is curate your online presence. Now, this isn't going to be the whole shebang of, oh, just build a personal brand. Instead, it's going to be a lot more specific. You need to realize that when you are working with a client, most likely, if you are working in the YouTube space like me and like the boys, you aren't actually meeting this person in person. Everything that this client or potential client knows about you is just from what you've shown online. So you might be the world's purest soul, but if your profile shows something else, what are they going to think of you? Now, the way that most editors mess this up is they do stupid things like complain or speak about controversial topics on on their social media. So even if there's something that you are passionate about that's outside of editing, keep it on an account outside of editing. If there's something where someone did something shitty to you, you got scammed, oh no, why would you post about it? All you're telling the world is that, hey, look, when I'm working with people, shitty things happen. And on the topic of online presence, this is where tip number 6 comes in, which is think in systems. Systems are this reliable way to understand why things happen. If I push something over, it is going to fall. And in the same way, the success that you want, the clients, the followers, the views, they are simply outputs of the inputs you're putting in. And if you're not happy with the outputs, if you're not happy with the number of clients or the quality of clients you're getting, you want to question the inputs. So what are the inputs for your career as an editor? Well, I've done the hard work for you, and this has worked with thousands of other editors. The inputs for you as an editor are outreach, which is you messaging people in order to work with them. And second of all, it's previews, which are your edits and your client work and videos you've edited chopped up into the best sections and then posted online. If you simply outreach and post previews over a long enough time horizon, you will get clients. You don't want to start doing these actions when you need clients. You want to do it whether you have clients or not, so that when the day comes that you maybe get dropped by someone, you have someone already there. Number 7 is to build a deep work protocol. Imagine you've got 2 types of editors. One that works while distracted, where he goes on his phone and he randomly looks outside and speaks to his parents while he's working, compared to the editor who just works without looking anywhere other than his screen on his editing software. Who do you think is going to get more work done? Of course, it's the guy that's working properly. This is what you call deep work. It's being able to eliminate all distractions, not even giving them a hint of attention. But what I've found is a lot of editors struggle to get into that deep work. So how do you get around that? Well, this is why we have a deep work protocol, which is just a list of actions that we take before we start a session. For me personally, this is where I will first of all define the task, where I just tell myself, what is the thing I'm going to be doing? Then I will go into a short action list where I will essentially first close out of all my tabs, then I'll put my phone away where I can't see it, then I will clear my desk, and then I will fill my water bottles. So I will have preferably at least 1.5 liters, 2 liters of water, so I don't need to get distracted by going and coming back. Then I'll set a 60-minute timer, depending on how long I think I can work. It usually is anywhere from 60 minutes, 120 minutes, and then I will literally just start working until that timer is done. Now, there will be times where you veer off path. There will be times where you look outside. There'll be times you want to pick up your phone. That's normal. The goal here isn't to eliminate urges, because we're human. We're always going to have urges, and I myself still get distracted. The goal is that when you're here and you're trying to go here, but you slightly go off path, you get an urge, it's just the ability to curve back in. It's a question of whether you indulge in the distraction or whether you veer yourself back. That's what determines how good you are at deep work, and that is a skill worth training. Lesson number 8 is that there is no highest paying niche. Now, I've fallen into the trap of listening to other editors, broke editors who are in Discord servers telling me that this niche makes money, this niche doesn't, this one's easier to work in. Bullshit. And I would have even my family telling me, oh, you need to get into real estate videos, or why haven't you tried wedding videos yet? Here's the thing. I have had $1,000 plus projects in almost every niche you can think of. I've had it in finance, I've had it in business content, I've had it on kids channels where it's literally just brain rot content. It doesn't matter the niche. I've done it in gaming, I've done it in art, I've done it in challenges. It doesn't matter. The way you get higher paying clients isn't by going into a certain niche. It's by being in any niche and just working with the top creators in there. But before you do that, there is going to be one little thing you need to do, and that's where number 9 comes in, which is either focus on short form or long form. You see so many editors that, like we talked about, try to pick a niche, but they haven't even decided if they want to do long form or short form yet. And the reason I tell people to decide on either short form or long form is that if you try to do both, you end up getting neither. Because if you were a long form creator looking for an editor, would you rather go for someone who only does long form content or someone that dabbles in both? You'd pick someone that's their speciality, right? Now, there will be times where someone reaches out to you and asks you to do the one that you haven't specialized in. That's fine. If you have the capacity to take them on, take them on. What I'm saying is that when you're publicizing yourself, when you have your portfolio or you're posting your work, try to prioritize either long form or short form. Now, we're going to get into lesson 10 now. But before I can explain it, I need to ask you a question. If you didn't know how to play basketball and you wanted to become the best, what do you think is going to help you improve the most? Simply just dribbling a ball in a still spot? or playing real games with real people. Of course, you playing actual games will help you improve more at the game of basketball. Why? Because that is closer to the real thing, which is why this 10th lesson is me understanding that doing practice edits are absolutely retarded. There is no point you making an animation that is outside the context of a real video. This is where you see editors who just create a random animation, and sure, it might look cool, but you're just learning how to dribble a ball when that's not the thing that you're going to be assessed on. So how do you actually practice if maybe you're new or you just want to improve as an editor? Well, just edit in the context of the work you're trying to do. If you have this goal of editing long form videos for YouTubers, why don't you just practice with long form videos that are made for YouTube? Lesson number 11 is that prices are all in your head. Every single day I get editors that come up to me saying that I have no idea how much to raise my prices by because I'm scared this person is going to say no. Here's the thing, most clients, especially ones that you haven't worked with before, have no context of your prices. So you might have charged the last guy 50 and this new guy you want to charge 300. He doesn't actually know that your prices are higher now. You can just speak as though you always charge 300 and you will actually do a lot better in that client interaction. The problem comes where editors self-sabotage because they think that it's higher, meaning that they speak in a weird way and now the client feels off and they get ghosted. So realize that prices are all in your head, especially when you're speaking to new clients. Just give your price and get rid of all your emotion. And on that topic of clients, the 12th lesson I've learned is that you will be most powerful when a no is still a win. Most editors are absolutely petrified of raising their prices because a yes means their career changes forever in a good way, but a no means they could lose everything they've built so far. So how do you make it so that it's less stressful for you? Well, raise your prices when you literally couldn't give less of a shit whether they said yes or no. When you raise your prices on an existing client, when you already are full with multiple clients, you don't care whether they say yes or no. You know you have other clients you're working with that you can work with if this person says no. So you're going to be raising your prices for one person at a time. But in terms of consistency with your income, how do you manage that? That's where this 13th lesson comes in, which is you can actually build consistency through lots of inconsistency. And let me explain what that means. Our goal is to have maybe 1, 2, 3 clients who are super consistent with posting videos and they give us work at a high rate. Ultimately, that's how I got to 10K a month. That's how people make more money from editing. But how do you get those consistent clients if everyone you're getting right now is inconsistent? Well, you take on the work from maybe an inconsistent, maybe a consistent guy, and you take on multiple of them. Because what will happen when you have multiple clients is sure, one guy might send you a video sometimes in 1 week, sometimes in 3 weeks, but by the nature of having multiple people, it all sort of averages out and means you always have something to work on. Lesson number 14 is be the editor that you would want to work with. It can be really damn hard to know what clients want, and it leaves a lot of editors getting ghosted. But here's the thing, you just want to ask yourself, if you were the person hiring, what are the traits you would like? Is it going to be someone who doesn't reply on time? Would it be the type of person where, sure, he can communicate, but he doesn't speak in your interest, he just has random excuses? Probably not. So what we can do is just invert all of those and just be exactly the type of editor that we would want to be. Not someone who rushes videos just because they're not getting paid enough. Not someone who's given excuses, but rather someone who over-delivers and does the best for the client. Lesson number 15 is that deadlines are not your enemy. I used to hate deadlines. I remember how stressful they used to be, especially when it would be like a week-long video and I wouldn't even start until the 5th or 6th day, and then I would start complaining like, I hate deadlines. But here's the thing, if you're a smart editor, what you can do is go from someone who complains about deadlines to someone who actually uses them to make more money. Let me explain how to do that. Have you ever noticed that whenever you have a deadline, we will usually just start working a few days or just enough time before the video is due, and somehow we usually manage to get it done. That's something called Parkinson's law, which just states that when a task is given an amount of time, that task will fill the time that it's given. And we can leverage this as editors by actually giving ourselves shorter deadlines. So if you know you have a video that you've been given a week for, but you always just finish it in the last 2 days, just tell you and the client that you're going to get it done in 2 days. Now, will it be a little more stressful? Yes, but that's why this method works. works. Deadlines are a good thing, and if you want to make more money as an editor, this is how you kick yourself up the ass and you actually get work done. Lesson number 16, and this is a bit of a controversial one, is that nobody cares why you failed. I've had some very, very hard periods in my work career where sometimes I would be editing a video and it's for a pay that I know isn't worth it, but I still have to get it done because I've taken on the video. Or there's weeks where I've gotten so much work that I genuinely feel like I'm gonna die. But the one thing that gets me through it is that if I quit now and I don't make editing work, who cares? Sure, people will ask me, oh, how's that editing thing going? And I'll have to tell them, oh yeah, it's I got busy, you know, school came up and there's this thing and I had this other job, so couldn't really do it. And sure, people will give you pity. They will say that, oh, it's okay, man, you were busy, it's fine. But deep down, they don't really give a shit. Sure, you might be feeling a little bit better about yourself because you have a reason for why you didn't make it, but your bank balance is a raw number. It doesn't matter why that number is like that. It's just a number. And in the same way, it doesn't matter why you're not getting clients. All people see is that you're not getting clients. So quit the excuses. Just ask yourself, are you doing the inputs? And if you're not happy with the output, stop giving yourself excuses and ask yourself how you can start doing the work. Lesson number 17 is that you're not constrained by time. You're constrained by focus. A lot of editors say that they don't have the time to do something. They don't have the time to finish this video. They don't have the time to make this animation look as good as it can be. But I just posed the question. If you hypothetically brought up your phone right now and checked the screen time, would it be 0? And let's be honest, some of that time you used to speak to family, some productive things, sure, but some of that time was wasted, and I can be humble enough to say that I have it wasted, so maybe you should as well. But if we have these time sinks that we're throwing our time into, wasting our time into, it doesn't make sense to complain that we don't have enough time. Instead, realize that we have a focus problem, and now it becomes more about how can we stop that bad habit and actually start implementing deep work to actually solve the problem. Lesson number 18, and this changed my financial life forever, is you want to build a war chest. Imagine how much more powerful you would feel if a client messaged you and they gave you a price and it was lower than what you wanted, but you know you had 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 just sitting in a bank where it's just spare money that you don't really care what happens to it. Do you think that if you had that money sitting there, you would be a bitch and just take on that video even though you know it's less than what you want? Of course not. It's when editors need the money that they make bad decisions. So what I recommend editors do is make a new bank account and actually just throw a little bit of money in there as you start growing. And what that'll mean is that you have this trampoline in your career where even if something goes wrong just for a little bit, you can still do the correct actions without being stressed. But is this me telling you to turn into some goblin and never spend any money? No. What I am going to tell you to do is lesson 19, which is spend on experiences, not objects. For example, right now I'm in Malaysia and a lot of people would say, oh, this is a good thing or this is a bad thing. People always have their opinions. But what I know is that I am okay with spending money if it means that I'm actually going to get an experience out of it. Every single time you have a new experience, it's not about ranking it better or worse, it's just new. But when it comes to materialistic objects, usually it is a thing of which one's better, which one's more expensive, which often just makes you spend more and more. So spend on experiences, not objects. The next lesson that changed my entire editing career is you can care about work-life balance. Just don't expect yourself to be successful. I had an editor friend where we were in the Discord call a few years ago. Now this is at a stage where we were both pretty new and we've had these controversing opposite opinions when it came to this. I was working super late and he was saying that I needed to take a break. And I said, I don't think taking a break is a good thing. Now I'm not talking about these 10-20 minute breaks where you just go for a walk and refresh your mind after work session. That's fine. What I'm speaking about is these day-long breaks. 3-day-long breaks, 7 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Those kill your career. And he told me that I needed to take these, but my opinion was, it doesn't matter how burnt out I am. It doesn't matter that I can't work anymore. If you suddenly dropped everything and you just left, nobody cares why you left. They just know they need another editor. My exact phrasing that I said to him was, it doesn't matter if I'm burnt out, the world keeps spinning. Because when you say you're burnt out or you have this crazy life event that happens, sure, it's valid, but the client's just gonna go look for another editor as soon as it happens. They might tell you that, oh dude, I'm so sorry to hear that, but the next day they're going to look for another guy. So yeah, this is me saying that you probably shouldn't be taking long ass breaks. For example, I'm on holiday now. I'm just working because I fundamentally enjoy it. I'm gonna be editing videos, I'm gonna be recording videos. And the way I can keep up this workload throughout the year is because I just take care of the basics, my health, my social life, and I can just make sure that I feel great while working. And will there be days I feel like shit? Yes, but I usually can power through them and I feel better because I'm actually more fulfilled and I can just continue as normal. Now, if that pisses you off, fine. It's not my job to make sure you're successful. But for the guys that do want to be successful and actually do want to make something out of their editing career, that's where this last lesson comes in, where it's stop trying to learn everything, figure it out as you go. I used to be this guy who would watch these 10, 20, sometimes 30-hour-long tutorials and then sit at my desk and have no idea what to do. That's what happens when you try to learn everything. What serves you better is just try to do the thing that you're doing, and then if you need to learn something, just go off to learn that specific skill and then come back and continue your work. Because it's when you try to learn everything that you end up learning nothing. So those are the 21 freelance editing lessons that I wish I knew sooner. But if you are looking for a more structured system that I use to get to 6 figures a year as an editor, you can watch this video. It breaks down the entire thing.